aggressive.
Somebody, what role do you think that the president's going to play in this messaging?
Or if you marry Newt Gingrich.
In pushing back. Let me ask you this. How is Obama going to be able to play in this? You know, there was a time when he was going to get tough on Fox.
Obama, okay? This has to do with Congress, okay? Obama doesn't make any laws about the Commerce Committee, which regulates the FCC, who refuses to do their job.
But he's going to campaign. But he's going to campaign. Does he?
Listen, I just want people to understand that what Dennis said is the way it was when I first started broadcasting. You know, I'm an older broadcaster, okay? And when I first started, I had to be licensed, and the station was mixed, and you had all different opinions and voices. You had a fairness doctrine. You had all these different things that ensured that we were operating in the public interest. Every year, we had to open up our public file and show that we had served the community in some way in order to get relicensed. You know how you get your license now? Once every 8 years, you send in a postcard, swear to God, to the FCC. I don't have to be licensed anymore, and no broadcaster does, which is why you get all these little actresses, these news models that are doing news, and there's no standards, there's no practices, there's nothing that requires you to, there's no threshold to meet to brand yourself news. And Rupert Murdoch and Comcast taking over MSNBC and the whole NBC complex, this is enormous. And how Congress let this happen, I have no freaking earthly idea, but I was sitting there writing my letters to the FCC and getting everybody to write letters because they're supposed to be a public file. Now, the reason why, you know Cenk Uygur, you ever watch him on MSNBC? Cenk just got canned by MSNBC. Yeah, really? Went on the internet and put a video up, you can watch it, where he says the reason why he quit, well, they fired him and offered him a weekend show. Well, it's Lock Up Raw on the weekend, so what the hell were they offering him? You know, a chance to be in Leavenworth and get attacked?
He looks good in orange.
Yeah, he looks really good in orange. But honestly, they said to him, Washington doesn't like you. Your tone is wrong. You have to, you know, tone it down. And, you know, they've said that to Malloy. They've said it to me. You know, and so he said, screw this, and he left. And he said, I left behind a lot of money in perks. And he goes, and the perks are, like me, I flew here in cargo pretty much, you know. We fly in steerage, you know, and it's 10 hours.
I was dancing an Irish jig.
You know, you couldn't even get a direct flight from LA to Seattle, okay? So, you know, I mean, but this is what, so he was saying, he goes, you know, they put you in first class, and there's a car where, and you get all, you know, involved in it, and then you think, well, there's no turning back, this is a great life. He actually was a man of his principle, as was I when Clear Channel bought all of our shows. And I said, you know, they said, well, if you just be conservative, we can make you millions. And I said, there's no way I'm going to become, you know, a ruthless retard. I mean, I'm never going to be able to park it at the door, you know. But anyway, Cenk got fired. Do you know why? Because now Comcast has taken over NBC. Guess what Comcast and Fox have in common? Comcast needs Fox for content because it's not just Fox News. It's Fox, it's Glee, it's American Idol, it's all these programs. And so Comcast, the cable provider, is now also a content provider, and they need Fox. And so all this merging of media, this is the, for everybody that's ever asked me, why don't you have more stations, or why can't, that's the reason. And this has been happening since, well, it started for real when Bill Clinton signed the Telecommunications Deregulation Act of 1996.
You know, Randy,
and that was the beginning of the end of our business.
There is some good news, if we can spend that. We talk about the dark clouds all the time, but the good news is the networks are worried about you. And here's why they're worried. They're not worried, are you watching? What they're worried about is, are you starting a new website? Are you blogging? Are you communicating? There's something that's evolving called the citizens media, which we talk about, we give it lip service. We don't understand the power of it until we understand behind those closed doors, the networks are talking about how to stop you from doing what you're doing. Because they understand the citizens media. I don't care if it's an independent newspaper, it all begins local. Independent newspaper, radio, whatever it is you do. If you choose to participate in that citizens media, it is a pushback. It does have a cumulative effect. Morris Dees is a dear friend of mine, has been for a long time, and I asked Morris one time, I said, Morris, what happened in the civil rights movement? What was the event that moved the civil rights movement? And he said, Pap, you know, there was no single event. It was a culmination of an event in Idaho, an event in Florida. It was a civil rights effort by everybody. And all of a sudden, we made this giant leap. They made a cultural and social giant leap. So we can never accomplish that. We just can't. We can scream. You've got, you know, huge talent from at least from here down. And so that talent there can only do so much, and then the citizens media has to kick in. It has to support that.
And that's why the internet is so vital. Alternate, common dreams and all of that, because we can end run the corporate media and organize ourselves. Howard Dean showed it in 2004, Barack Obama showed it in 2008, and that's the way we have to do it, because that's all we've got available to us.
I'm curious about what's going on in Congress, though, and what the mood is in Congress about Murdoch and what might be done about him and Fox. I'm obviously talking about progressive caucus and that sort of thing. Is there any appetite for really going after these people? I mean, Fox is a propaganda outfit.
There's been talk about investigations, but frankly, there is a lot of attention being paid to the deficit and the debt and refinancing it, and as there should be, and get that out of the way. Once that happens, then we'll see. I can't tell you that that's the top priority in Washington.
No. But could Fox's license be taken away at some point if it was proved, if it was proved that they weren't actually a news organization, that they were actually a propaganda outfit?
Can we talk about this some more, or are we in trouble?
Please, it's your show.
Will we get in trouble if we talk about this some more?
No.
Not for me.
No, you'll be all right.
What about this? Follow this story. Follow Elizabeth Murdoch replacing James Murdoch, okay? Elizabeth Murdoch and her brother hate Roger Ailes, would kill Roger Ailes. Matthew Freud, Elizabeth's husband, hates him. Came out in a public statement, says he is a blight on our family. He's a blight on our brand. So, you know, it's little things like that we, little ankle biting. We got to do that ankle bite. Yeah. That's the kind of stories we need to keep alive. We need to see that plump, fat. This guy's awful. He's awful.
He's so evil.
He has He has this big evil part of his heart.
Steph, Mike, you're talking about, going outside the box and what we have to do as progressives. You're talking about what Cenk's doing, like how, he gets 1 million hits just on YouTube. That you can get your message. I'm just trying to make this all about me for a minute. But seriously, we started, we've been talking about on the air of the Sexy Liberal show. It started as a joke. Like, we just were like, oh, this would be fun. And we're selling out theaters. We just added a second show here in Seattle because we sold out the first show in like 2 or 3 days, all across the country. But literally, we joke about it's a show the right wing doesn't want you to see. They tried to bribe our tour director $10,000 to stop booking it like 3 days after we started. They've hacked our Twitter, our Facebook page. They're scalping tickets for $500 a piece. We're going, it's a joke that the name of the show, just the name of the show is making them crazy. There's nothing that bugs conservatives more than liberals succeeding at capitalism.
Yep.
or sex.
So, hey, Steph, how did that come together?
We're like,
we can go to each and every city in America and spread our sexy liberal gossip and give money to sexy liberal causes and make a lot of money doing it. It'll make the right wing's head explode, and God bless America, I
say. Okay, so Mike Malloy's being way too quiet. I think it's because his daughter is in the audience and he's afraid he's going to swear or something. But let me ask you this. This comes from a listener, Chris Hermata from Seattle. I don't know if Chris is here. Yeah.
I know Chris.
That's pretty good. Where's Chris?
I'm going to edit it a little bit, Chris, but not much.
He's right there. See if he gets this right, Chris.
Oh, okay, yeah.
He's got a cowboy hat on and everything.
Wow,
it's got like red state on it.
Okay, we better be careful then. So this is the question. With Barack Obama's move to place the big three on the bargaining table after already slashing their funding through his payroll tax holidays and co-chairing his cat food commission with two big three enemies, he seems to be redefining the Democratic Party as one that rejects the remnants of the New Deal and Great Society. Chris, by the way, says he objects strongly. How do we regain control of the party from this centrist Republican modernism, Mike? You? Yes.
Why Malloy?
That question was made for you, Mike.
Good question. Mike Malloy.
Malloy's such a corporatist.
What?
How do Democrats retake? Well, they don't.
Okay.
With some notable exceptions, like the man sitting here on the stage, Dennis Kucinich. I say this, Dennis, but the Democratic Party essentially is dead. It's dead. Now, I know a lot of people are going to disagree with that, but the Democratic Party that I grew up with, the coalition building, civil rights, human rights, labor, organization, labor, who are they going to labor with now? Public service employees, no offense, but what about the auto workers? What about the electrical workers, the carpenters, the builders, the teamsters? The Democratic Party, something has to be built on the philosophies of the Democratic Party from back in the 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s. Something new has to be built. But the leadership of the Democratic Party, I'm talking, it is almost as corrupt as the leadership of the Republican Party. The only difference is when the leadership of the Democratic Party wants to, have a fling or an affair, they don't say they're walking the Appalachian Trail. They come up with something else. But, and again, Dennis, I respect you. I love you. I voted for you. Were my man until John, what's his name?
Oh.
And then Obama. You were the man. But the Democratic Party, to me, quick answer, it can't be rebuilt. I'm sorry, this is my feeling. It has to be replaced.
I think it
You know what it takes to be president? Dennis knows.
Preferably with communism.
The reason why Dennis was not on your ballot is because it takes $1 billion to be the president. Therein lies the problem.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the parties. It has to do with the money. And until we actually insist on public financing of our elections, this is what we get.
But that's my point. That's my point. People who use that money to get into power are not going to vote to get rid of the money. It's not going to happen. Congress is not going to say, we've had so many opportunities to say, from here on out, you want to contribute to a candidate or a party, $100, that's it.
Yeah, that's right, Mark.
Or how about no money?
But you know what? Wait a
Or
minute.
no money,
no
even
money?
no money.
You want to go out and carry a sign? You
That's
want to
right.
make phone
Come
calls?
to my
you want to run around the
door and
neighborhood?
talk to
Well,
me.
the problem-
Do it to your heart's content, but
Randy.
money is not a part of it.
How
Wait a
about a
minute.
Supreme Court that actually upholds that law, that actually says that this is a representative democracy, not a corporatist democracy?
But corporations are people,
people.
and their
I know,
feelings
when
will
they
be
go
hurt.
get a mammogram, then
Hey,
they'll
Randy,
be
let's-
people.
Randy, wait a minute.
Stephanie.
I think you gotta. You and I are together on this. Like, Mike, you can't say there is no difference. If you want to see any bigger contrast, look at Debbie Wasserman Schultz and Alan West this
Right,
week.
good point.
There is a difference.
No, there
he
is a difference.
douche
No, there
nozzle.
is difference in people. I'm not saying that.
Okay, well
I'm
that's the
saying
difference
the
between that.
party.
She is stating policy. She was stating very succinctly
what
we stand for.
But what
and
does the
he's an
Democratic?
asshat.
But what does the Democratic Party stand for?
Well, let's ask the
let's see what she-
Democratic
I know what he
representative.
stands
Let's go
for.
back to the
Talked about.
question.
Oh, we're not good
Because
at that.
No, but we'll try that.
Because
Go
the
ahead.
question
Jesus, it's
is
hot
the
up
question
here.
is a
Yeah.
Take off all our clothes.
the question is a valid question.
Can I take my clothes
Yes, you
off?
can take your coat off.